Dear friends, this is a third video in the series all about habits. I truly appreciate all your views, comments, thoughts that you have shared with me. So before I start with this video, I want to give a quick recap of what we have done so far. We learned about the habit loop. If you recall, there's a cue. Based on that cue, there's a routine that we do. And post that routine, we have a reward, which kinds of gets the habit going. We also learned that habits are stored in our brain. So they are stored in basal ganglia. Hundreds of habits are stored there, and it's very difficult to get rid of habits because what happens is brain kind of switches off when the habit is formed, and based on the cue, it triggers the habit and gets done. That's the reason why getting rid of that cookie or smoking or alcohol is so very difficult because they're kind of ingrained in your brain. What we're going to learn in this episode is we're going to take it further down, and I want to let you know that there are two other aspects which are absolutely critical about either formation of habit or getting rid of one. Those are craving, and the second one is being in a society. Craving is all about how the habits are triggered, right? For example, you want to lose weight, you don't want to look at your cookie can, but you still do because there's a craving for sweet. Similarly, you are a chain smoker, you want to leave it for good, but you still smoke because the nicotine is kind of craving. It comes in your body, you wants that time and again. So we're going to learn about the craving. The other aspect is society. Society at large, as we all have known, are a good emblem of forming good habits, and the bad society, are the emblem of forming bad habits. So it's very important to understand how you can frame your habits based upon the society you choose. I also want to let you know that it is very important when you want to change a habit to understand when you are triggered. What is the cue on which the habit is getting triggered, and what reward you're looking at. See, at the end of the day, I'm going to reveal one very important fact for you. Habits are not going to leave you, they are going to stay with you. What you can do though is that if you understand what triggers an habit and what reward you're looking, by changing that reward and understanding the cue, you can change your routine and can insert something which is important for you, which is interesting to you, so that you can change habit or you can get a new one. So to do that, today what I'm going to do is give you an example, and this is about Febreze. I'm sure if you are in the US or in the worldwide as well, you have heard about this brand, which kind of allows you to give a scent or a perfume in your house or in your setup you are in, like a car. They come in both ordered and orderless. So let me give you the history of Febreze and what happened with Febreze. This is a classic example where having a wrong understanding of a cue and a wrong understanding of reward, how products can fail. Procter and Gamble back in the 90s, even today, they're a huge Fortune 500 company. They were big at that time as well. I think in 1993 they had a revenue over $38 billion with some of the best products you can think of: Downy, Bounty, Duracell, day-to-day products we all use. There's a scientist, a chemical scientist who used to work in Procter and Gamble. So one day he comes home and his wife said, "Have you left smoking?" Now he was a chain smoker, and he first thought that his wife is making a sarcastic remark. So he skeptically said, "No, I haven't." But his wife shrugged her shoulder and said, "You don't smell like you have smoked." So he went back to the lab and he found he accidentally was working with a chemical which is kind of takes the entire order out of you. He was excited. He went to his management. P&G guys were thrilled because this is kind of innovation or invention done never done before. There were other things which can suppress a particular smell, but there was nothing available which can completely eradicate order. So they were absolutely thrilled. They did research on that. They did further work on it, and they were ready with a product. The product name was Febreze in 3 years. In 1996, they called upon their best and the brightest. They gave the entire baton to a gentleman with the name Drake Stimson. He was the brightest. He's in his mid 30s, done a lot of great work for P&G, and they told him to make it a big product for P&G. It was a no-brainer. He came, he said, "Wow, it can take away all the orders." So what he did was he did some initial market research. He picked three markets, I think Phoenix, Salt Lake City, and Boise. And what he did was he did a soft launch just to understand the market. There he found a ranger, a park ranger, whose job was to save animals, right? Bring it back home, or to animal rescue center. And she literally cried. She had tears in her eyes looking at Febreze, because she had a big problem in her setup. She was handling a lot of skunk, and you know how bad is skunk smell. So she didn't have any steady relationship for that. Her entire body smelled like skunk. She didn't have family coming to her home. She couldn't have a boyfriend who can stay with her for long. And this was like magic. Moment she had Febreze, she was using as a experimental closed campaign perspective, and the order was gone, and she could have a normal life. She was literally in tears, as I said, and said, "This is a boon I got." It was a no-brainer. They made two ads. One was about smoker. You smoke, use Febreze. It takes the entire order out, and you don't have to have any other scent as well. It completely goes away. Similarly, they did one with the pets. They said, in the Americas, there were 70 million homes with pets. So they said, you have pet in your home, and they smell bad. Use Febreze. Your house will not smell like a nail. So that was the ad. They did everything possible. They stack up Febreze in different departmental store. And they waited. They launched. They waited. The ads were on the TV, and they waited. The selling started small, and then it became even more smaller, and then it completely sunk. They were flabbergasted. They don't know what to do. I mean, they were completely not aware of what's going on. They thought it's a great product, it can take smell out, and they didn't know what went wrong. So much so that P&G was also very upset. They didn't know what to do. They almost thought about scraping the product by thinking that maybe the Americans do not want a product like this. But Drake's boss was, fighting for it. He said, "Give us another chance." So what they did was they went back to all the people they have given Febreze, and I remember from the book again. This is from the book All About Habit, Power of Habit. I'm sorry, by Charles Duhigg, and he explained in the book that they went back to some of the people they've given the Febreze, and they knocked the door and said, "Hey, where is have you used Febreze?" "Oh, what Febreze?" And they said there was not a brand recall. Say, "Oh yeah, I remember that you gave me, and let me look for it." They couldn't even find it. It was a disaster. The people are not using it. They were stacking it somewhere else. And what they did was they actually went to a house which had like 10 cats, and I still record from the book that people who were entering, they were almost about to throw up because of the smell, the order they were getting. And they asked her, "Are you using Febreze?" They said, "No." Then they asked, "Can you smell?" She said, "I don't smell anything." So that's where the fact is. The problem is when you live with certain order for a particular period of time, you get used to it. Remember the car, when you get a stranger in, a person who have not driven for you long, if you're not perfumed your car, they can smell the stench, the odor, the reek that comes out of the car. But for that person, the olfactory kind of works in such a manner that you get used to the smell. That's exactly what was happening. The smokers never smell the smoke. The pet and the household who had pets could never smell the pet smell, and that's exactly what was happening, because they didn't feel like using it because they were not smelling it. It is the other party who was having the problem, but that party cannot bring a Febreze in their house and spray it along. So they have to go back to the drawing board to see that what they can do. They also did a research on people who used it. There are few people that are using it, and one such family gave them the aha moment. They went to that family, and this lady, she said, "How do you use Febreze?" She said, "Yeah, I cleaned my house." She showed that, here is what I'm doing. She cleaned the entire house. They put the bed on. And then after everything is done, she used the Febreze as a spray. I said, "Why are you spraying it?" He said, "I feel good when I spray it around." They came back, and they thought maybe that is how they should use Febreze. Believe it or not, while Febreze was used for removing odor, they found that the reward for the people using it not to remove odor but to feel good about it. So what they did is they went back to the lab, and they have redone the entire thing. So instead of having an odorless Febreze, they made perfumed Febreze with different perfume, lemon perfume, lavender, and others, and they made soap and sprays and all, and they used that to market by saying that once you're done with everything, use Febreze as a reward. That this is a reward of your cleaning. So the Q was different. Q was still cleaning, but the reward was not about the orderless. See the point I'm trying to make. The reward here was you want to be feeling good about what you have done. So the household people who are using it, the families who are using it, the homemakers are using it, they're using it as a reward at the end of the cleaning that they have done. And then look at the result. First year itself, their sale went up to 230 million. In 3 years, they went to different countries, and it was $1 billion business for them. Eventually, they said, by the way, Febreze can also remove water, but that's not what it was sold for in the beginning. And now, as you know, Febreze is one of the top brand in the US. What you have learned from this? You have learned few things. First, even in making an ad, just you're trying to form a habit, right? What is the habit you're trying to form? People can use Febreze, and to use that, they got the wrong cue and the wrong reward. The ranger kind of misled them to a path which almost doomed the product. The cue was not about that you are in a bad smell zone and you want to remove the smell. That's a reward. Cue was cleaning, in a very contradictory way, and the reward was you get a sense of belonging that you have done something right. Why it is important? Because if you are trying to change your habit, this is going to be extremely important. For example, I'll take an example of when you are trying to lose weight. When you're trying to lose weight, if your point is that I want to lose weight, that's not a reward. Maybe it is for some of them. For if I take my perspective, it will never be a reward. Reward has to be something else. For example, when about 10 years back I started exercising, my reward was to look good. Look good. My brother was like all trimmed. He had six packs, and he has gone from a motion of from a completely unhealthy to a completely healthy person, and thought, why can't I? And that was a trigger point for me, so that I can be shredded, I can have six packs, and I started doing exercise. So what I want to say is that you have to understand what can trigger you, and then you change your routine. For example, now you can understand when you are trying to have a temptation of eating that cookie, for example. So if you can take a note of your behaviors and take a note of when and how you eat your cookies, you'll find that, for example, now in the pandemic situation, we're all at home. So when we are done with a meeting, or for example, we have nothing else to do, we walk up to the kitchen, and there is this cookies, or the bowl of Oreos, and you pick up one and you eat. Once you understand that, that's when the cue happens, that you get up, let's say after every meeting. Probably you can watch yourself, and in some of those, when you get up, instead of going to the kitchen, you can go out of the house, and you can see that you can change a cue. And when you're going out of the house, you're taking a walk. Or even if you're going to the kitchen, you replace those cookie jars that you have in front of your slab, you replace them with something healthy like nuts, for example, or maybe washed carrots, for example, and invariably you can get into the habit. Very important to understand that. We have still not covered a couple of aspects like craving. It's very crucial, and how you can control craving, because craving is what the recipe of disaster, even if you want to change and the old habit crawls back. We'll talk about it in the next video, but I hope you like what you hear here. And again, feel free to leave your comments behind. We'll love to hear from you. And if you like what I'm saying, please do spread the message. Please follow my channel, and I look forward to hearing from you again. Take care now. Bye.